Now, how do you enroll artificial intelligence into marketing systems? So, AI-powered influential marketing systems, a neighbor of this country, Serbia, brings Andjela Todorovic, machine learning engineer, from startups to mathematics and beyond.
Thank you. I may not be as funny as the previous guy. Tough competition, though. I have to admit that some of you are influencers, but we as humans are very vulnerable. Do you agree? Raise your hand if you agree that we are quite vulnerable. Which isn't necessarily bad, but it is kind of a thought-provoking to me. Did you ever think about that someone's whole career or whole love life, friendships, and everything that we have online is nothing else but several lines of code? It is quite interesting to me because it seems so real. And if you agree, it all seems so real and so influential, so powerful, but it can be gone in a second. So as someone who writes a lot of code on a daily basis, I wanted to teach you actually how to use all these lines of codes, all this software that you have, to use it, to incorporate it into your business and to use it as a powerful tool before it can be gone in a second. So let's talk about AI. It has been a hype recently, unfortunately, because some of us have been in AI for much longer than it has been hyped. So basically, there are several ways that AI can help your business or your social media profile, if that's what you're interested in, to reach its full potential. I have mentioned only a few, but there are many, many use cases. So today we're going to talk about, first of all, predictive analysis, and then we can see how we flag posts that aren't satisfied enough by the community and how we actually detect fake engagement and spam bots. So let's start with predictive analytics. This is something that you may be interested in if you are an influencer already or you have a certain following. Or maybe if you already have your own business and you want your sales to grow and to scale up to 10 or 20 times larger. So what is predictive analytics? Now, imagine that you're in a grocery store, everyday situation, right? So you're done with your shopping and you want to go to the line. And you know that that can be so time-consuming and exhausting. So basically, what your brain does at that moment is it creates one kind of a predictive model. In which way? You have to decide which line are you going to go to. So basically, you choose a fastest line based on some features and some target values. I will explain now the terminology behind the whole predictive analysis. So expected output, it's the fastest line. It's that line that you will go to, and it will be your final decision. And target variable there will be the amount of time that you will spend in that line. And of course, you're trying to minimize it to make it as quick as possible and just to leave and grab your stuff and go home. Historical data is something that you already know. You've been shopping like zillion times in a lifetime, so you probably know something about which line to choose. And based on that, you have some predictors or features, which can be like the amount of people in the line, whether some of them are paying with card, how many groceries they have in their shopping carts, etc. So based on these features, you have your own predictive model. And predictive model is what goes on in your brain in that kind of a second, and it says, okay, I'm going to go to that line. So it is the same thing that you do in everyday life, what we do in business, in machine learning. Okay. Oops. Now talking about customers, as a potential business or as a business itself, you have your own customers and you try to increase their customer lifetime value. What does that mean? It means that you want your customers to stay with you as long as possible. You want to treat them right, and you want to have as much revenue from them as possible. So before machine learning and the whole explosion of deep learning models, we had the formula that you can see, which looks kind of boring. It's like average revenue per user, some percentages squared, and it's a lot of mathematics, and it just doesn't make sense. And I have seen this formula a dozen times, working with a lot of IT companies. As a business intelligence analyst, I have seen that most of these companies just focus on what is the most important to them, on money. And they calculate the amount of money and they say, okay, how are we going to gain more money without paying attention to their customers? So I want to ask you, one day when you start your business, will the money be what you're starting it for? Or if you're already an influencer, was the money the reason that you started building your brand and your social media accounts? Of course not. What we want to focus on is customers, and we can use that as our features. As you have seen in the previous slide, you have some features that you train your models on. So deep learning has made a revolution here because these features can be your customer satisfaction, the percentage of them that return to your brand year by year, and many, many things that don't seem as important as they should be, but can make a gross revenue at the end. So there are a lot of software that you can use, like, for example, R, SPSS, and we can talk about this either at the pause or if you're interested, just contact me. So there is a lot of statistics software that you can use with influencers to have an advantage of it and to gain more revenue to your brand. Elimination of fake engagement. I think we have mentioned several times. We've tried to determine whether an influencer is really an influencer or not. And here are some statistics of big brands that actually have a huge number of fake followers. And actually the AI system decided and calculated the percentages, and how we did it by something called time series data analysis. Basically, okay, let's make it easy. We have something called trend and the change of that trend in data analysis. So when working with time series, when you notice a peak, like if you have someone who hasn't posted in a year and suddenly their following raises from 0 to, I don't know, 1,000, you can notice some specific behavior. And if this behavior, so that is the first red flag, if this behavior continues, you can detect by training your AI model that actually this person is using fake followers. If you have noticed, Instagram itself has some own algorithm that it shows a person to you, and some influencers say that the algorithm is mean. It isn't, it just notices when you use fake engagement bots. So if you did or still do that, please avoid it, because it is quite noticeable and it is quite easy to detect it by using AI. Disclosure guidelines, some boring regulations. Actually, when you have marketing involved in the whole influencer marketing campaign, you want to be as trustworthy as possible, and to kind of try to promote a project or a product that you have to sell it without like risking some without like I don't know, spoiling the commission guidelines, and you want it to be as trustworthy and as good as possible. So actually we have built a smart classifier which flags your posts whether they are appropriate for Instagram or not, based on many previous use cases. So basically this is similar to what we have done with ad classifying, and it is quite usual and it is quite simple to implement it. You basically have a classifier that says, okay, if this image, for example, that can be trained on a network contains this, this, and this, or if some hashtags have been tagged, then you can say, okay, this is spam and this is not spam. And based on that, you train your model and you feed it with data until it finally learns how to classify and draw a line between what is good and appropriate for social media versus what it's not. So why AI? It has been a question that is asked quite recently. So what my final point would be here is that the amount of data today is exponentially increasing, and the amount of billions of dollars that are into the influencer marketing game is also exponentially increasing. And if you want your business to grow exponentially, or your following, or whatever matters to you, you have to start thinking exponentially. So please follow the trends like you do it on Instagram, follow the trends that you see in software development, and use what has been given to you and what has been researched by many. There is many tools and technologies that you can really use, and I think you should give it a try. That's it. Thank you.